If you're just joining us, we're Derek, Ashley, and Pete, and we're traveling Alaska in our Class B RV Risky. If you caught our last episode, you saw us take on America's largest national park, Wrangell St. Elias. We hiked right out onto the massive Root Glacier and explored a billion-dollar copper mining ghost town. Alaska's a wild place, but this was one of the most remote places we've ever been. But today we're officially beginning the long journey south. We're crossing back into Canada to tackle the legendary Alaska Highway. In this episode, we're going to get blasted by extreme winds in Kluane National Park, walk across what some call the world's smallest desert, stare at a lake that looks completely fake, and soak in a wild natural hot spring nestled deep in the boreal forest. Let's hit the road. Our first major stop after crossing into the Yukon territory was the Daku Cultural Center and Kluane National Park Visitor Center. Kluane is a massive, wild expanse of towering mountains and massive ice fields. In fact, it is home to Mount Logan, the highest peak in all of Canada, standing over 19,500 feet tall. Getting some intel from the rangers here is a must, because this park is rugged, remote, and unpredictable.
We just got into Kluane National Park here in Canada, in the Yukon, and we were like miles out, and we saw what we thought was smoke just billowing out miles and miles ahead of us, and it was like around the corner of the mountain. So we were like, okay, where's this coming from? Because we were going to the visitor center, it looked like it was coming from there. So we finally get around the corner and it just didn't stop. And then we just realized that it's just dust because it is so windy where we're at right now. And it just doesn't stop. It's so much dust. So this is an hour away from where we stayed last night. It's a nice little stopping point, but there's not much that you can do here. It's really a lot of great hikes, but we need to start making our way south. So we're going to be getting to Whitehorse today. And from where we stayed last night, it's about a 3.5 hour drive. So we're going to hit the road. But what this place is really known for is the mountain sheep. And you can see them as you're coming in. We didn't see any today, but they had signs up saying like slow down because there's a high population of these mountain sheep. So we just got over to the visitor center and they have these binoculars over at the deck that's pointing up the mountain. And I think I counted probably 40 or 50 of these mountain sheep just like up there, just walking across the mountain, but you could barely see them with the naked eye. It's just how massive this mountain is right here.
So as I mentioned, that wasn't wildfire smoke, it was glacial dust, also known as loess. Kluane is heavily glaciated, and as those massive ice rivers grind over the bedrock, they crush it into a powder as fine as flour. When the extreme winds rip through these river valleys, they pick up all that glacial till and create these intense, blinding dust storms. It was wild to drive through, but it was totally worth it, just to see the massive herd of Dall sheep clinging to the cliffs. Kluane actually has one of the largest concentrations of Dall sheep in the world, and they love hanging out on those steep, windswept ridges to avoid predators. Now, after escaping the dust, we found an incredible boondocking spot right off the Alaskan Highway, perched on the edge of the Takhini River. Long before the highway existed, this valley was the traditional territory of the southern Tahini people, specifically the Kwanlin Dun and the Ta'an Quatchan First Nations. They used this river for thousands of years as a massive natural highway for trade, travel, and hunting along the banks. Now, during the Klondike Gold Rush, stampeders actually floated down this exact river system, trying to get to the gold fields in Dawson City. And honestly, it was a total disaster for a lot of them. These guys were desperate and unprepared, building sketchy makeshift rafts out of the wet timber that barely floated. A lot of them wrecked right in these freezing rapids and lost absolutely everything. Sitting here in the quiet, watching the water rush by, it's crazy to think about the thousands of people who risked their lives floating through this exact valley 100 years ago. The next day, we pushed further into the Yukon toward the town of Carcross. Now, the name Carcross is actually short for Caribou Crossing. Back in the day, massive herds of woodland caribou used this to migrate across the natural land bridge here. Today, those massive herds are mostly gone. They were basically hunted into oblivion during the gold rush to feed the stampeders, though a smaller herd is finally making a comeback. Now, the town itself is a great stop. It's home to the historic White Pass and Yukon Route railway station. And you can walk around, grab a coffee, and check out the incredible First Nations totem pole. We pulled off the highway and started making our way up this sandy ridge. Yes, you are seeing that right. We're in the Yukon, surrounded by alpine mountains, and we are walking up a sand dune. We came to Carcross, and we're checking out the Carcross Desert right now. This is just so interesting to me. It's just as you're driving down the highway, going south, you come across this, and it's just sand dunes, and they're so high up. I just came up this hill, if that's what you want to call it, and it's just massive, and such gorgeous views here. Ashley and Peter, right down there. They didn't want to come all the way up. Pete's exhausted. He was chasing after us. There's people off in the distance that are driving up the dunes on their motorbikes or dirt bikes. I think I saw a four-wheeler earlier too, so if you're able to, you can bring it out here and just drive all up and down these dunes. I'm starting to realize that my shirt choice was a poor option. I don't think Ashley's able to see me very well. The closest to a beach that she's had in a long time. How you doing? Welcome to Carcross Desert. It's often referred to as the world's smallest desert, measuring in at roughly 1 square mile. But scientifically speaking, it's not actually a desert at all. The climate here is way too humid to be classified as a true desert. So what is it? It's actually a series of northern sand dunes left behind by massive glacial lakes that dried up at the end of the last ice age. Over thousands of years, wind from Bennett Lake constantly blows the sand onto this spot. It's such a unique microclimate that it's home to rare plant species you won't find anywhere else in this region, like the Baikal sedge and the Yukon lupin. Now, this place is totally free to visit, and it is a massive playground for locals who bring their dirt bikes and ATVs out here to shred the dunes. Just don't wear a tan shirt like me. Now, just down the road is Emerald Lake. From the sky, the colors are so vibrant, it legitimately looks like someone dumped toxic neon dye into the water. But that intense green color is entirely natural, caused by sunlight reflecting off a layer of white clay and calcium carbonate, known as marl, that coats the bottom. That marl was left behind by the glaciers over 14,000 years ago. Long before tourists were pulling over to take photos, the local First Nations people use this area. Archaeologists have found artifacts and hunting camps around these lakes dating back thousands of years, proving they used this incredibly vibrant lake as a major landmark and resource. As we kept driving, we spotted these feral horses grazing right on the side of the highway. Seeing horses out here feels completely random, but they're actually a rugged piece of the Yukon history. A lot of these horses are descendants of pack animals brought up here during the gold rush, or horses left behind by early outfitters. They survived the brutal northern winters, adapted, and now they just own the side of the road.
We just made it over to Watson Lake, and we are over at the sign forest and checking this out. There are over 100,000 of these signs posted all around, and it's much bigger than you think.
The Watson Lake Sign Post Forest is an absolute must-stop on the Alaska Highway. This tradition started way back in 1942 during the construction of the highway. A homesick U.S. Army soldier named Carl K. Lindley was asked to repair some directional signs, and while he was at it, he added a sign pointing towards his hometown of Danville, Illinois. Since then, travelers from literally every corner of the globe have followed suit. Today, they have over 80,000 signs here. You'll find license plates, hand-painted wooden planks, street signs, and even hubcaps. People travel thousands of miles just to leave their mark. It is completely free to walk through, and there are absolutely no strict rules about what you can post, as long as it's safe and respectful.
There are just rows and rows of these signs everywhere, and there's signs from all over the world. This is just so neat to me. Now, we didn't make a sign, so we have nothing to post up, but we're enjoying just walking around and checking these signs out. There's literally no rhyme or reason to the signs that are here, so you can post whatever you want. If you want to personalize it, you can most definitely do that. If you want to post something up, in case you don't have the tools for it, they do have nails and a hammer inside. Just go inside and ask for that, and basically anywhere that you want to post the sign up, as long as there's space, go right ahead. When we had passed the border from the Yukon into British Columbia, there was like massive signs saying that there's buffalo or bison for like the next 170 kilometers. And we saw one as soon as we passed over the border, and we're like, oh, that's awesome. But then for like an hour we've been driving, we haven't seen anything. Then we came across this entire herd of bison.
Now, these guys on the side of the road are wood bison, and they have an insane survival story. By the early 1900s, people thought wood bison were completely extinct, wiped out. But in 1957, a pilot spotted a tiny hidden herd from the air in a remote muddy swamp in Alberta. From that one surviving group, they were protected and eventually reintroduced along the Alaska Highway. Today, there's a couple thousand of them roaming up here. They are taller and heavier than plains bison, with males weighing over 2,000 pounds.
It's always exciting to see wildlife out in the wild. Unless you're Pete. He is not a fan. You okay? We're on the Alaskan Highway and we came across some wild bison. And there's babies. And it's so cute. Some big ones too.
This guy just pulled up in front. He was right behind us, but they stopped in the middle of the road, and now they have their vehicle turned off. So that semi had to pass them by. That is extremely dangerous. They don't even have their hazards on.
You mad, bro? Yeah, I know, you're mad. What? You have something to say about it? Here, tell the people. You see the animals outside? They're just like you. Except you are obsessed over and loved. Suffocated with love.
Not long after seeing the bison, we spotted a mama black bear and her 2 tiny cubs foraging right in the ditch. If you're driving this stretch of highway in northern British Columbia, keep your cameras ready on the dash because you will see wildlife. It's like a real life safari and you constantly have to keep your head on a swivel. Go ahead.
Today we're at Liard Hot Springs. We had to leave Pete in the car, but we are looking forward to this. We haven't taken a shower in a little while, so this is going to be nice to dip in, even though we'll probably smell like sulfur.
Liard River Hot Springs is legendary among Alaska highway travelers. To get to the pools, you take this half-mile boardwalk through a boreal forest. The day use fee is just $5 to $10 Canadian, but we highly recommend grabbing a campsite here if you can. If you camp, you get 24-hour access to the pools, meaning you can soak at midnight when the day trippers are gone. If you aren't in an RV, there is the Liard Hot Springs Lodge right across the highway. You'll want to stay here because the nearest actual towns, like Watson Lake or Fort Nelson, are literally hours away in either direction. You are completely isolated out here. Now this is the Alpha pool. It's called Alpha because it is the main hottest pool. There used to be a beta pool further down the boardwalk, but they permanently closed it due to a heavy bear activity in the area. In fact, if you noticed us passing through that heavy gate to get in here, that's because the entire pool area is surrounded by a massive electrified fence. This lush, warm microclimate attracts a ton of black bears and grizzlies, and unfortunately there have been fatal bear attacks here in the past. The electric fence is the only thing separating you in your swimsuit from a 600-pound grizzly bear wandering through the woods. Inside the fence, the water temperature ranges from a perfectly relaxing 108 degrees up to a blistering 126 degrees the closer you get to the source. If you look closely into distance, you can see me trying to prove how tough I am by walking as close to the boiling source as I can. The pool floor is totally natural, just gravel and mud, and you can literally see the hot thermal water bubbling up from the deep underground.
There's cold waves in here, like little bursts of it. But this place looks so much like a Florida swamp. I'm just waiting for a crocodile. Oh, alligator, sorry. I've been gone for so long, I don't even know. Is my doggy paddle acceptable here?
Yeah, there's nobody around.
They won't embarrass you. Have you ever seen that meme of a person crawling underwater and they look like this?
That's what I was thinking about doing. I'm like, if I keep crawling like this, like those people are gonna be like, I know what you look like right now. This is what we look like in the water, but really, this is what we should be looking like.
This is really magical. I love it. This is so cool.
This is the best hot spring we've ever been to, I think. Because it's not like, there's no pool.
Yeah.
There's no like hot tub.
My favorite one was in Big Bend, right next to Mexico.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we crossed over and got some food, some tacos from Mexico. But this one's cool because it's this whole little grotto. And it's all real. There's gravel at the bottom.
Yeah.
So it makes it like easier to walk on. You're not walking on mud and goop, which is kind of what we were walking on in Big Bend.
Yeah.
So this is nice. So much fun. It doesn't like to smell like boiled eggs.
Oh, that's your favorite, isn't it? What are you hungry for?
Deviled eggs. I've been craving them like crazy. Things that I can't make in the van easily, it all of a sudden is what I want to eat. It's not that bad. The sulfur smell is not that bad. Or maybe we get used to it. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think it's bad.
It wasn't that strong walking in.
Now, Liard is magical. It's one of the few places left where you can get the amenities of a maintained facility without losing the raw, wild feeling of the surrounding forest. Now, clean and relaxed, we hopped back into the rig and made it to the edge of Muncho Lake.
Well, we just got over to Muncho Lake, and I was really hoping to see this. This is like one of the main things to see when you're driving the Alaskan Highway. But unfortunately, right now there are wildfires like crazy just east of here, and you can barely see anything. It is very hazy out. So we're just gonna...
It's still beautiful, even though it's hazy.
Yeah.
It's just a different kind of beauty.
I can see the turquoise a little bit. But we're gonna continue on.
Apparently we're not going to acknowledge the stupid haircut he gave himself to his face. The spottiness of it. He trimmed his beard, but he didn't trim the mustache. Why?
It's the new cool thing to do.
So he doesn't look like this young, vibrant Derek anymore. He looks like an old man.
I believe the words were Ned Flanders.
It just doesn't look right. I'm not used to it. And it reminds me of like the 80s, because that mustache is back in style. But we don't have to follow the style. We're too old to follow styles. We'll just be ourselves. Well, you can't just go and change your look and not explain it on the camera. Everyone's going to be shocked.
Nobody is going to care.
Oh, I can see it in there. Ah, you look different there too. Okay, I'm done.
Alright, so this is it. I mean, it's not like it doesn't pop out too much. What do you think? Let me know.
I just thought of something that what he reminds me of. He reminds me of a man that will pull up in a van and say, "Come here, kids. We have candy and puppies." Say no.
Even through the wildfire haze, Muncho Lake is something else. On a clear day, the water is a brilliant jade green caused by copper leaching from the bedrock. But the reality of traveling through the Canadian North in the summer is that wildfires are a constant, heavy presence. You can see whole mountainsides swept completely clean by previous fires, though the bright green grass growing underneath shows how quickly things bounce back. Despite the smoke, the wildfire was still out in full force. As the sun sets, we're officially leaving the deep northern wilderness behind us and making our way south towards Jasper. We've got a long drive ahead of us, so we'll catch you down the road.